Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout, where today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most iconic weapons in all the Fallout series, and it is the humble BB gun, which I actually have a BB gun. So I figured this one would be okay to show on YouTube because I wanted to kind of do this when I was going over Fallout London and talking about a certain other gun, but didn't know how YouTube would kind of react to that. So we're going to be talking about the Red Ryder BB gun and how often it has shown up into the Fallout universe. And this makes a whole lot of sense for the BB gun to actually be showing up in the Fallout universe since it's so heavily inspired from like the 1950s. Getting something like a Red Ryder BB gun for your child would make a whole lot of sense at this given time, and it kind of makes sense even to today. So with the BB gun actually being in the Fallout universe, that kind of begs the question as to how good of a weapon would this actually make? And was this weapon ever actually viable in the Fallout universe? Well, kind of. Yeah, actually it was. The BB gun first showed up in Fallout 1, and in Fallout 1 and 2 this would actually remain the same, where it would be the Red Ryder BB gun. Now this one was absolutely one of the worst weapons in the game. This one did 1 to 3 damage, so basically no damage. Your bare hands could hit harder than this pretty easily, and pretty much every other rifle did more damage than this. This was technically the first and only lever action rifle in those games though, which is kind of cool. So aside from doing really low damage, it used the BBs, which you could hold 100 of. This would actually remain consistent throughout the Fallout games, but BBs were fairly rare and you didn't really find them in the first couple Fallout games. You could find a couple of them actually pretty early on, and sometimes traders did sell them. It's just you generally weren't going to be getting a whole ton of them. This one actually had okay range though, coming in at 22 range in Fallout 1 and 2, which wasn't the best. It wasn't as good as like a hunting rifle, although I really wouldn't think that a BB gun would have the same range as an actual rifle, but actually kind of better than what you would think. Still cost 5 action points, which is actually a decent amount. It was pretty much on par with a lot of other weapons similar to it, or at least in the same category as it. This one weighed 5 weight, which I don't know why the BB gun's actually so heavy in this. Like, BB guns, even when fully filled up with BBs, aren't really that heavy, especially ones like these. They're fairly lightweight, so I would think more along the lines of like 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds would have been more appropriate for this, but okay, 5 pounds, it's not too heavy. For some reason, the BB gun also required 3 strength to wield effectively. This is really made for like a child to shoot it, and your character's always a full-grown adult. Well, I guess technically you could be the youngest on there, but the youngest you could go in the first couple Fallout games is like 16. And a 16-year-old should have more than enough strength to actually cock the BB gun so that you could shoot it. As well as actually, hold it out straight. So that is kind of funny. The BB gun would start out as one of the worst weapons in the game. However, there was a unique version of the BB gun that would show up in Fallout 1 and 2 as well, and this was the Red Ryder LE BB gun. And this one would be shockingly good. This one you could only find from a rare event similar to the Alien Blaster, so it wasn't a guaranteed spawn that you were going to find it at. You would just have to get lucky. So if you had high amounts of luck, you were more likely to get this. And this one actually did good damage, so instead of doing the 1 to 3 damage that the regular BB gun did, this one did 25 to 25 damage, so it was very consistent. It still held 100 rounds into it, and it cost 1 less action point at only 4 action points, making it a better rifle than quite a few weapons. It also had 32 range, giving it almost as long a range as the hunting rifle too. So this weapon was actually really, really good. Its weight did change. In the first Fallout game, it was actually 15 pounds, which is very, very heavy for like a BB gun. It'd be very heavy for a lever action rifle in general. That would be reverted back to the 5 weight though in Fallout 2. So if you did find this weapon, it was actually surprisingly strong in those games, weirdly enough. It also came with one of the weapon perks in Fallout 1 and 2 that was called Weapon Long Range, which just gave it more effective accuracy at longer ranges. Very odd choice for this, but if you did manage to find the unique Red Ryder BB gun in Fallout 1 or 2 early on, it was actually really good. Like, it could compete with most of the rifles. It could actually outcompete the hunting rifle, since the hunting rifle needed 8 to 20 damage, so this one statistically did much more. It was more on par with something like the sniper rifle. The sniper rifle could potentially be better, but even then, the sniper rifle took 2 extra action points to use, so you could actually potentially use a BB gun all the way through the first 2 Fallout games without too much trouble. This was, like, competing with a lot of the rifles, which was kind of funny. At least, if you can find enough BBs, that was probably going to be the limiting factor, and of course if you found the BB gun itself. Fallout 2 would also have one additional BB gun that was called Johnny's BB gun. Now this one was more of part of a quest, or part of a series of quests really, in Fallout 2, where if you went to the bottom of the well in one of the towns, then you could find a BB gun, and instead of it having the Red Ryder carved into it, it had Johnny carved into it. And this one belonged to Johnny, who was there. He fell down the well, but he's okay. Don't worry about that. It's actually statistically no different from a regular BB gun. It still does 1 to 3 damage, still has kind of shortish range. Not really that great overall, it's just not a great weapon. The BB gun would then once appear in Fallout 3, where it was actually the very first weapon that you got access to in the game. You got this right at the very start. This was your tutorial and showing you how to shoot. As soon as you interact with everything in the party, your dad would then take you down to the very bottom levels, and you were using this to shoot targets as well as to shoot some rad roaches. And that's about as useful as the BB gun would actually be, because once again, BBs were fairly rare into Fallout 3, and this weapon didn't have any unique variant, nor did it really have anything going for it. So this one did 4 damage in Fallout 3, I guess that's slightly higher than it was in Fallout 1 and 2. This gun also didn't show up in Tactics at all. You never got access to a BB gun, which I don't really know why not, since they had so many other goofy weapons. They actually had a joke weapon in there, or well, it was a real weapon with the Shoshaw machine gun, but at least in the game it did like 1-to-1 damage, so it was statistically worse than a BB gun, which I would probably argue against that, but either way, BB gun did average crits, had low crit damage, actually cost an okay amount of action points to be using. It didn't have very much spread though, and this was actually considered a silent weapon, so if you were sneaking around with it, enemies were probably not going to hear you, although you weren't going to be doing a ton of damage back to them. This could still hold 100 rounds, and this had a weight of 2, which would be a whole lot more appropriate than the 5 weight or the 15 weight that we had seen in Fallout 1 and 2, so the BB gun was pretty awesome. It didn't have very much item HP, so you did need to find other BB guns, which was another difficulty thing, because there wasn't a whole lot of BB guns in Fallout 3. Realistically, the only reason you would be carrying around a BB gun in Fallout 3 is either as soon as you leave the vault and it's something that you just have BBs for and you're going to use it to shoot like rad roaches, and that's probably going to be about it, or you're probably going to be using it for like a challenge run, in which case it is fairly difficult to use a BB gun all the way through, at least I would imagine. I haven't done that one yet, but I probably will in the future. There are some perks that could actually help out with this though, since both the Point Lookout perks in Fallout 3 gave you 5 more base damage, which is higher than the BB gun's base damage is with 4, so you could take it up to like a 14, and at 14 damage per shot, that's about the same as like the regular assault rifle per shot, which is still not good, but it's better than the 4 damage that it had, so there's that. There was also supposed to be one unique BB gun in Fallout 3 as well, called Black Bart's Bane. This got cut from the game though for some reason, and was never really added in. Statistically, it was basically a BB gun that was twice as strong as a regular one, so instead of doing 4 damage per shot, then this one did 8 damage per shot, which was still not good. So even if this had made it into the game, it would have needed something else besides just doing double damage from the BB gun, because double damage on most other weapons would be kind of crazy. On a weapon like this, not so much. Then into Fallout New Vegas, we would see the BB gun appear once again, and this was actually the last time the BB gun would show up, since the BB gun never showed up in Fallout 4 either for some odd reason. I don't know why that is, since it seems so prominent in the other games. Either way, the BB gun in Fallout New Vegas was again a very early game weapon. You could actually find one of these in Good Springs in the free house. I don't think it actually counted as stealing if you wanted to take it. Maybe it did. I always stole everything from Good Springs anyway. And it had some BBs laying around with it. So the BB gun in New Vegas required 0 guns and only 1 strength to wield, meaning that any character, literally any character, no matter how you built them, could effectively wield a BB gun, which that should be a common thing, I would think. This one did very low damage per second, had okay crits, at least in terms of crit chance, had low crit damage overall. It had the same action points and the same spread that it did in Fallout 3, so it actually wasn't terrible in those rolls. Still held 100 rounds. It was the only weapon besides the unique variant of it that used the BBs, which was kind of cool, and BBs were more common in Fallout New Vegas, although they still weren't very common, and this still had very low item HP, so it broke really quick. The only thing the BB gun really had going for itself in Fallout New Vegas was that it counted as repair fodder for jury rigging, because it counted towards every other manual action gun. So if you wanted to use this and repair your brush gun with it, you absolutely could, and that was probably the best use of it. Although not a whole lot of people sold BB guns either, but I imagine you could get them pretty cheap. Generally, I just went with varmint rifles to fix up my gear so that I could sell it back at such high prices. However, there was a unique BB gun in Fallout New Vegas, and this was the Abilene Kid LE BB gun. And you had to find this one up north. It was near the Boomer's place, where you could just go and get this. If you had Wild Wasteland, then it was actually found in a well right next to there. I think it was on a corpse called Johnny, so that could have been a reference to Johnny from Fallout 2. It's also very likely a reference to Lassie too, where, you know, Johnny fell down a well. And this gun is actually surprisingly strong in Fallout New Vegas. So this one still required 0 guns and only 1 strength of wield, meaning that literally every character can use it. Had pretty much all the same stats as the regular BB gun, with the exception of its crit chance and its crit damage. This one didn't have the 1 times crit chance, this had 1.5 times, so it was more likely to hit crits. And this one did a massive 70 crit damage, which was actually the same as a brush gun. So this was actually not terrible to be hitting crits with, especially if you wanted to build it for a crit build, which was probably the best way to do it. And if you're doing a challenge run with the BB gun, the unique version definitely makes that challenge run a whole lot easier. Since this still counts as a silent weapon, you can still use it at fairly long range, although there is travel time with the BBs, so you do have to wait a second for them to actually get hits. This one did have twice the amount of item HP, although it still didn't have high item HP by the standards, and I guess you could use repair fodder like varmint rifles for something like this, and that would actually be a little bit better, since the base varmint rifle wasn't incredible. I still like it, but it wasn't amazing. So in conclusion, how good was the BB gun in the Fallout universe? Generally not super strong unless they added a unique variant of it, in which case then it generally was really strong. It actually started out, well, the regular BB gun has sucked all the way throughout the Fallout games, as you would kind of expect just a children's toy to be using as a weapon. It's not really a great weapon. About the best like BB gun or BB gun type weapon that I think I've seen in any sort of video game has probably been like the Takar from the Metro series, where it's basically a gigantic air rifle that's shooting like ball bearings out that you have a huge air canister on the back of it that's capable of holding a lot of pressure, which, I mean, air rifles did exist historically, and they were actually quite powerful, even being used in hunting and some military uses, especially at the point where black powder was still being used. They were very expensive, but they did provide another alternative for you to use. And they had some advantages, like being slightly quieter, which was good for, you know, not blowing out your ears. They weren't silent or anything, but they were more quiet. And you could use them in the rain, whereas you couldn't really use black powder in the rain, at least not easily. So advantages there, although they did have their own cons, like being a lot more expensive because mostly the air canisters were very expensive and time-consuming to make. Either way, BB gun, mostly a toy, not really a great weapon unless you have the unique variants, in which case sometimes they just outcompete like half of the ballistic weapons or over half the ballistic weapons. So BB gun's kind of all over the place. Tell me your thoughts on the BB gun and how do you enjoy using it. Thank you guys so very much for watching this, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody!